Hey, folks. My name is Alan. I am with the Modern Musicology podcast and the Alan's Record Bin podcast, which is a little sideshow off of Modern Musicology. And last night was a big night for those of us who are Rush fans. Right there, there's my copy of 2112 alongside Kiss and Airplane and Hard and all these other bands that I love. But last night, Rush made their concert debut for their newest tour, the first time they've been on stage. Well, the first time they've been on stage as Rush since, well, whatever year, 11 years ago when they did their R40 tour. So that was 2015. So a lot of people have been waiting to see what this show was going to be like. And I was not there. I have to tell you, I was not there, but I watched the live stream of it. I have watched all the footage that I have been able to find. I have reviewed photographs and stuff like that from the show. And so I've got some thoughts that I wanted to share with you, and especially for my fellow Rush fans. And we are talking about the Rush 50-something tour. This kicked off last night in LA, and there was a lot of surprises. We're going to talk about all this. I'm going to keep it very spoiler free to start with. And then we'll get into some specifics a little bit later on. I've got the set list that I'm going to share with you in a little bit. I'm sure if you're a Rush fan, you've already seen the set list. I'm sure you have, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the surprises from the night. They pulled out a few songs that may have been unexpected. They did all the things that you would think they would do. Spirit of Radio and Tom Sawyer and Limelight, Free Will, all those things. But there were some other things that were kind of surprises. And the big question on everyone's mind is about the new drummer, Annika Niles. So Rush is Geddy Lee, of course, and Alex Lifeson. And they, after Neil Peart passed away, they pretty much said, that's it for Rush. We will never tour again as Rush without Neil. And they stuck to that for a long time. They have recently changed their minds about that. And that came mostly from, I think they were already kind of leaning that direction anyway, but then a conversation that Geddy had with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney convinced him, if you want to do it, you should just do it. You love playing, you love this music. Yes, you love Neil, but at the same time, you have this enormous fan base. Go out and enjoy, while you can. So they did. They got a new drummer. Her name is Annika Niles. And they also have a support keyboard player called Lauren Gold, who has toured with people like The Who and all kinds of other bands. So he's been around the block for a while. He's a known quantity. And Annika has done a lot herself. But here's the thing. When you're talking about Rush and you're talking about Neil Peart, one of the most legendary, most iconic drummers in rock history, who has a very specific and very distinct style, and who, like if you go see a tribute band, you're going to watch the drummer. You're going to say, how closely does he stick to Neil's parts? And if he doesn't, is it because he can't? There's always going to be that. They made sure and got a top-notch drummer who is incredibly technically proficient. There's nothing that Neil does that she wouldn't be able to do, I don't think. But the question is, and has been for months, what's going to happen when she plays live? What's going to happen with Neil's parts? Is she going to stick note for note, beat for beat to Neil's playing? Is she going to do her own? If she does her own, how much is it going to change the sound of the song? What's her set configuration going to be like, and how is that going to change the sound of these songs? So there's been a lot of speculation. Since that's the big question, I want to get to that top of the show, and that is Annika, I think, was amazing. I think that she did an incredible job. She's maybe 30 years younger than the other two guys. So She has a youthfulness, an energy, and really propelled the music. And I thought she did a great job. Does she play exactly like Neil? No. And I don't think that it should be expected that she would. I don't think it would be fair to think that she should play everything exactly the way Neil did. Let's think back to 50 something year, whatever, 50 years ago when Neil came into the band. He did not play the John Rutsey songs exactly the way John Rutsey did. He very much put his own spin on songs. And I think that any drummer should be able to, any musician should be able to do that. One of the joys about being a Yes fan is seeing new players come in and take existing parts and put their own spin on it, to put their own personality into those songs, because it changes the way that you hear the song. And that's exciting to me. So I would say that Annika stuck to maybe 80% of what Neil does. She it definitely played the framework of the songs, but like a specific fill, a specific flourish, a solo moment. I will say most of the solo moments were pretty exact, but I think in the interior part of the song, I think that she did quite a bit to establish herself as the new drummer. Let me get some photos for you. These are some photos that came from these shows. There's the two boys, Alex and Getty, up on stage last night. Another little quick shot of them. There's Alex with a new guitar. This is a guitar we've not ever seen him use before. And this is a moment of obviously big drama. But also I want to point out the merch. They have an extraordinary range of merch. This is only a little bit of it. There is so much more. But I wanted you to look up on the top row here from the left, third shirt over. There's this new symbol that they're using, which has played on more than just that shirt. It's in a number of the you can see it again, 5 shirts over on the bottom row. And this symbol was used throughout their show as well. It's also on Annika's bass drum head. And this is the horns of Odin. This is an ancient Norse symbol, and it is used to symbolize poetry, wisdom, and it has been since used to represent the power of 3. And I think those 3 meanings of that symbol so perfectly works in the modern Rush aesthetic, where they're saying basically Rush was always 3 people. It was always Getty, Alex, and Neil. And you have this symbol that says it will always be that. It will never be forgotten. And there were a number of moments throughout the show where the show basically paused and they did Neil tributes. There were these video packages that they used to really highlight Neil and Neil's unique contribution to this band. So it's not like they are going out and forgetting about Neil's role in this band. Absolutely not. He was all over this show. And this new central symbol that they're using really says we will always be that 3-person configuration. And I think that's really, really nice. So again, talking about Annika, I think that she was absolutely the greatest selection for this band. I think that she came in, she was solid. She played incredibly well. She, for the most part, stuck to Neil's framework, but she put her own flourishes on that. And I think that's great. I think that's fine. And it really kind of changed some of the way that some of the songs sounded. And I will say that her set configuration was mainly, I mean, pretty much all like mid voice to low voice tom-toms, no like high pitched toms. And that does change the way that some of these songs sound, because there's a lot of iconic things that Neil did up on the higher pitched toms, kind of things that she didn't necessarily represent, because she wasn't using that kind of that full set. But it didn't really matter. It didn't change what she played necessarily. And I think that the way she interpreted his parts was absolutely right. And I think she did such a wonderful job. And I think that she is going to be the talk of this tour. And I will say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more when we get into the specifics of the set list. We're staying spoiler free for the moment. That there were moments where there's these iconic Neil Peart parts, like in Tom Sawyer. There's the big drum solo in Tom Sawyer that you're waiting to hear her play. That's the thing that you came for. You came to hear Annika play those parts and see what she does with them. And there was a number of those, mostly in the second half of the show. Those big iconic drum moments came at the second half mainly. And when those parts hit, the audience like literally went nuts. And I think she got such a great reaction from the audience the whole night, but especially on those iconic moments. So it's like that's basically Annika. Let's talk about Geddy and Alex a little bit. These gentlemen are now in their mid 70s, and here they are striking out on a really big world tour. So how did they sound? How did they look? Well, phenomenal is what I'm going to say. Their playing was amazing. Alex, I mean, one of the greatest guitar players in rock. And I think that he did an incredible job on everything that they played. And there are some surprises in the set that we're going to talk about in a minute. There's some songs that you would not expect to hear, some songs that were played in a set list position that you would never expect. Like their opening song, you would never, ever think that they would open a show with that song. But it opens with Alex and his very iconic playing. And man, I thought that he was amazing. Just did a phenomenal job through the whole night. But the real star with this was Geddy, because not only is he a great bass player, he is the lead singer of the band. And also they have this support keyboard player, like I mentioned before, called Lauren Gold, who is touring with them and covering a lot of the keyboard parts so that Geddy isn't as tied down to one spot. So he's now free to roam around a little bit more. Now on songs like Subdivisions, where it's basically there's not that much of a bass part. It's mainly Geddy playing keyboards throughout the whole song, except for in the instrumental bridge. He still does it that way. So he's still playing some keyboards, but this guy, Lauren Gold, is doing a lot of the less, less symbolic kind of parts. And that really added some things like the little piano part that you hear in Spirit of Radio, which in previous tours they have done with a sample. And now we get it live. And Lauren put his own little spin on that too, which I thought was really cool. And here's a comment. Oh, wait, this comment's got a spoiler in it, so I will save that. But it's a comment from my good buddy, Matt Alschbach. And okay, we'll just go ahead and say spoilers are over. I mean, spoiler. So we're going to get into some specifics in a minute, but so let's just go ahead and say it. Amazing opener with Xanadu. Annika is spectacular. She silenced the bozos online who claimed she wasn't up to the task. 100%. I thought there were some moments that they actually played a song differently because of having a different drummer, like a different tempo or whatever. And I thought that was a really interesting, a really cool touch. And actually Xanadu was one of those places that it happened. So now that we're talking about some spoilers, who in the world would ever think that they would open a show with Xanadu? Completely unexpected. And it was really, really great to have this big, like 12-minute epic opening the show that starts with this really quiet, foresty kind of like beautiful part that slowly and gradually moves into the big bombast that song has. And I think that's kind of a cool touch because it sort of eases the listener into what's going to be happening, and it sort of introduces the band members individually, because the song starts with Alex playing that really gorgeous part. Getty comes in, and then the first thing you hear really from the drums, other than like wind chimes and stuff, is that tempo block thing, and I just feel like it was such a cool thing that when the main part of the song like just explodes in, and all of a sudden you're hearing the full band play, you've had those couple of minutes of buildup, and I think it just builds the excitement. And it was really cool. I mean, you would expect something big with a punch to open a show, and especially the first time you're playing live in 11 years. And they went the complete opposite. And usually Xanadu is something that's saved for the second half of the show, you know? So, sometimes at the very end, it was so unexpected to have them open with that. So I'm going to get into some, let me get back on my media page here. I'm going to get into some, let's just get into the set list, shall we? Here we go. The first half is Xanadu. We just talked about that, followed by Limelight. And this set list is really cool because it is all over the place. It is all over the map. They cover every era of the show. So we have Limelight, Far Cry, Subdivisions, and then the first pause to do a Neil tribute. And it's this video package where you see Neil playing, and over that is sort of a voiceover from an interview that he had done. And it's basically him narrating his, like, talking about his time in the band. And it was so cool. But that fed directly into Bravado. And that's kind of that's one of the more unexpected songs. If you're going to be playing your first show in 11 years, that's not one that you would necessarily expect them to do. So this set was 24 songs. And that's breaking the 3 different movements from 2112 into 3. So basically 22 songs. Getty has said that they have rehearsed 38 songs. So there's going to be some difference every night. There's a lot of things that are coming that we have not heard yet. And on this night, the first night, someone snapped a little photo of the official set list from the soundboard. And toward the end of the set here, Vital Signs, it was going to be Vital Signs or a different song. I won't say what it was, but basically on the fly, they were going to decide which of those 2 to go with. So it was, so basically after Bravado, Caravan, phenomenal song. And then another of the big surprises of the night, La Villa Strangiato. Oh, what an incredible piece that is. And it was so amazing to hear them perform that live, which they've done before. It's not the first time they've ever played it live, of course. But like I'm saying, it's with Annika now, and it's a very different experience. And it just sounded incredible. And after that, we got Vital Signs, which could have been a different song, but we ended up with Vital Signs, another unexpected one. Like if you're doing your first show in 11 years, who would ever think that they would play Vital Signs, And then they close out the first half with Spirit of Radio. Of course they do. They go in a little, they've done this forever, going on an interval in the middle of the show. They come back with the second half with a bang with 2112. And of course, Annika nails that. And it just sounded incredible. There was so much energy there. Distant Early Warning, Red Barchetta, no big surprise. Dreamline, a little bit unexpected. Natural Science, that's one of the ones that you think that you hope that they will do. And that's the first one of those moments where it's got a big like drum solo in it, like a big feature part for the drums. And that was the first one of those things that people are waiting to hear what Annika does. And she freaking killed it, because of course she did. My buddy Matt says Vital Signs was a nice surprise as well. This might be the best set list they've ever offered. A nice representation of their catalog without omitting the essentials. Yeah, I agree. And there is a few essentials that they did not do, but obviously we're going to be getting those on subsequent nights. So there's going to be like, this is going to be one of those things where you watch the set list every single night of the tour because you're going to be seeing new things. I think the basic framework of the show is going to stay the same. They'll always open with Xanadu. They'll always close the first half with Spirit of Radio. 2112, I'm sure, is set. The closers and their encores, I think, are set. But within that, there's going to be some shifting around, and I'm excited to see what all they have in store for us. Let's see. After Natural Science comes the big surprise of the night. If you know Time Stands Still, then you know that Rush does not do guest appearances. They don't do guest. It's always been the three of them. They have rarely ever done guest appearances on album or in concerts. The only time I can think of it really happening is on their final tour. Well, not anymore. It's not final anymore. But on that 2015 tour, the last couple of nights, they had Ben Mink come out and play the violin part that he played on the original recording of, no, I just blanked on the, just blanked on the damn song. Losing It. He comes out and plays, and that's the first time they've ever really done, other than when they had the small string orchestra that played with them and did the tour with them on the Clockwork Angels tour. Ben Mink coming out and doing that violin solo, that's a unique thing. So here we are with Time Stands Still, and who comes on stage but Amy Mann from Till Tuesday, who she does some of the background and some of the lead on that song on the original record. This is the first time this has ever happened. They have played this song many times live, but her part is always like piped in through samples. And they put her, like, her little beautiful face up on the video screen so that you can see that it's Amy Mann singing the vocal part. But this is the first time she's ever come on stage and sang it live with them. What a shock. I mean, I couldn't believe that was happening. It was incredible. So after Time Stands Still, we get another one that it's not like they've never played it live before. They certainly have many times, but it's still unexpected. And that's Red Sector A. And then, of course, the next big moment, the next big thing that you're waiting for Annika to hear what she does with it. And that is YYZ, and just killed it. Absolutely killed it. And there was no drum solo. Another thing that we were kind of waiting to know is Annika going to do a big drum solo? You know, we knew that there was going to be tributes to Neil throughout the show, but what did that mean? What form was that going to take? Were they going to play one of Neil's drum solos on the big screen, like in its entirety? Who knows? So the question has been, will there be an Annika solo? There was not. So YYZ was basically the song as it appears on the original record on Moving Pictures, without the big drum fill in the middle. But she's played it like just absolutely perfectly. And I mean, no surprise there. But another big surprise of the night was The Garden. And that is again from Clockwork Angels. And they played this, you know, when they did that tour, they had the big string, well, not big, it was a small string orchestra that played with them because they had a string section on the album. This is the first time that they've played The Garden without that string section. So it was just the band, and it was really, really lovely. And it was one of those songs where you're like, you know, just the tears. I mean, it was crazy. And then, of course, they closed out the night with Tom Sawyer. So they saved those big drum moments, Natural Science, YYZ, and Tom Sawyer, for the second half of the show. And, you know, you almost think people are waiting to hear Annika prove herself. You would almost think that they would put Tom Sawyer as the first song, the opening song, because that's what you're waiting to hear Annika do. And no, they saved it to the very end. And I just thought that was such a baller move on their part. But anyway, so Tom Sawyer, you know, of course they're going to play that. And of course they used the South Park intro. ever since that South Park episode, they have never failed to use that clip as the intro to the song. And, I'm okay with that because it's so funny and it's so iconic as a part of a Rush show at this point that why not do it? So anyway, they go off stage and they come back on for their encore. Big surprise, Bytor and the Snow Dog. So again, another big drum focus. There's a big solo bit, actually 3 solo bits at the end of Bytor. So again, we get Annika featured, and they save all of these Annika features for the end of the show. That's so weird. But anyway, so Bytor sounded incredible. And then of course they close out the night with Working Man. Oh my gosh. So I will be, they're coming to Atlanta in November, and it just happens to be right around my birthday. So I am looking forward to seeing this show. Last night, opening night of the tour, anytime a tour starts, there's kinks to work out. And there was a moment that I think maybe Annika got off beat just a slight bit, but then immediately got right back on the beat. And it could just be the way that she syncopated something. It could be the rhythm that she's playing that sounds different, but it jarred me a little bit. That's the kind of thing that happens on opening night. It takes time. I don't care how much you rehearse a show. A rehearsal is different than a live performance. And there are things that have to settle in. And for this show to have gone off almost, I would say 99 and 3/4% without a hitch is incredible and is a testament to these players. Absolutely amazing. But anyway, so the point of all that ramble is that they're going to settle in. Every night's going to be a new night because the set list is going to change every night. But still, I mean, once you get your sea legs back, everything is going to be great. And I'm excited about them coming to Atlanta in November and can't wait to see them. I have seen Rush. The first Rush show I ever saw was 1980 on the Permanent Waves tour. And I've seen them so many times up through the R40 tour, which was an incredible show. Oh, and I should mention that the production of this new show looks incredible. The video screens, the pyrotechnics, the lasers, it all looks amazing. And musically speaking, it is incredibly solid. Geddy's voice, his voice has been kind of going downhill for a while, and now he's been off the road for 11 years. He's had some voice coaching, and I think that has really helped him. And he's found, especially those early Rush songs, he's found new ways to sing them, like maybe a new melody, a new way, especially in 2112, changing the way that the melody goes. And they have plenty of spaces in this show where there's no vocals. La Villa, most of 2112, there's YYZ. There's just sections where there's not a lot of vocals going on. So he gets some rest during it. But he really sounded great. And I'm so thrilled to have heard the way that he's performing, and his playing is top notch. So anyway, that's my quick review of a show that I didn't even see. I wasn't there for it, but I watched it online. I watched clips from it today. I have reviewed photos and reactions and people have posted videos in the Rush groups, and I've watched all of those. I have studied everything. And I guess I should say also, I should have said this earlier, that I'm a drummer. I have been listening to Neil Peart for my entire life. I know his drum parts. I might not can play all of them, but I know them all. I have either sat behind a set and played Rush songs, or I have banged them out on my steering wheel or on my leg with my drumsticks. I know his stuff. To hear Annika come in and play different parts, not drastically different, just slightly different, was fun. I really enjoyed her playing. I thought she was incredibly great. She added new dimension to the songs, and I thought she was incredible. To close us out, Matt, my buddy, says, enjoyed the timely review, brother. Thanks for taking the time. Have to go. Well, so do I, because I'm on my lunch break at work. I took my half-hour lunch break in order to do this, and I'm hitting right now 30 minutes and 11 seconds. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. It was such a pleasure to have you chiming in with your comments. Love you, and I'll talk to you soon. And for others who are watching, thank you so much. I really enjoyed doing this, and I hope you enjoyed listening. So everybody take care. Have a great day. And if you get the chance to go see Rush on this tour, go see them, because this might be the last one. You never know. Everybody take care. Have a great week. Keep rocking on. And don't forget to listen to Modern Musicology and Alan's Record Bin. See you soon.